I used that in my background. Hi, everybody. Can y'all hear me? They said you all are having a hard time. Okay. I'm just gonna make sure you hear me. Okay. Thank you.
You got that good courtroom voice.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see y'all.
Good afternoon, Andrew Morgan, Chair of the 7th Circuit J&C. Welcome back. Can you start by giving us a few minutes of why you want to be a circuit court judge?
Of course. I see a judge as being a public servant, a public leader, servant leader, and that's what I've done as 18 years as an attorney. That's what I've done working with the community in my stance, and the desire for me to become a judge really started when I became a teen court judge, and I realized how important being what a judge does, what they say, really holds a lot of weight. And I thought, well, maybe I can do this. And so that's where I first decided that I wanted to try my hand and get involved. And it wasn't until I was going through a very hard time in my life, that's when I decided to take the plunge and do something, and I applied before, and I got on the list. My first time going, was able to be went up to interview. And so I just look at being a judge as just another way of me just serving the community from the bench. I've served it from the floor as a lawyer, and I can serve from the bench.
I have a question, and I ask this question not to put you on the spot or to embarrass you, but because it will be something I anticipate may come up in deliberations and want to give you an opportunity to discuss it with us. And that is, I know there are 2 pending lawsuits. Can you tell us what's going on there and why that should not be a concern for us?
Well, that was one of the things that I was kind of concerned about too. I said, well, I'm not going to put that on there because it's the truth. And so what happened was last year when the pandemic hit, I started to reevaluate my financial situation, and I decided my whole goal was to get out of debt. And so I was approached by a group that said that they can negotiate some of my credit cards, and so I gave that information to them. But in order for that to happen, you literally have to stop paying on your card, and your credit takes a hit, and so in order for them to negotiate it. And so every month I give them a certain amount where they create an escrow account. And so, and then when they get ready to settle, then they'll have the money already there. So since I put this application in, one of those accounts has settled. So so I have one more to go. And so I perceive that to settle as well. So, I mean, all I can say is that it's part of life. Sometimes you have things that happen, and these credit card companies decide to want to file a complaint, and I said, well, I have the money, but I just want to have someone negotiating that for me, and then I perceive that should be done sometime, hopefully, in my perception, it should be done sometime like at the end of this year.
Was it all credit card debt?
Yeah.
How much was that?
Well, the Discover card, that debt is about $15,000. And I looked at this. I'm good at managing debt, but I want to get out of debt. So I want to get out of debt. I want to be free to be able to do the things that I cannot do, and being in debt is not one of them. And so this saw this as a way to be able to do that, and so that's pretty much where it's at. So it's in a negotiation stage right now.
So it was the method to get to the place so that you could accomplish what you were trying to do, which was to get yourself out of debt.
Yes.
So we see it in mortgage cases too. Miss the pay. Oh, you made your payment. We can't talk to you.
Well, I was making payments. I was on top of it. But unfortunately, the way it's set up, if you continue to make payments, there's nothing to negotiate.
Correct.
So you have to stop. And I didn't want to do that. I said, oh God, I don't want to do that, but I did, and then that's when it all, when the ball really started rolling. So it was just something I chose to be able to work that out.
What about running an election? If you get appointed and you get a challenger, how would you handle the pressure, the financial strain, all of those things of an election?
Well, in order to do an election, you know, you have to have your group together, you have to sit down with individuals that counsel you. You have to have your plan, you have to have your treasurer, and you have to count the costs as to how much it's going to cost you to run a circuit wide, and I know that's 6 figures. But my understanding when it comes to campaigning, when it comes to contributions, I mean, I used to be a treasurer. I was a treasurer on a campaign, so I pretty much understand that side of it. And so with that going in, I already have that knowledge. So I know that you have to be very particular about the money, particular about the amount, particular who it comes from, you know, where it goes. And so I already have that standing knowledge to be able to handle that. And then, you know, it's just a matter of, like I say, it's a group effort with your campaign manager, with your treasurer and everything. And so with all those together, we'll be able to handle what we have to. It wouldn't be an issue to deal with it. And I wouldn't even say pressure, it just comes with the territory. When it comes with the territory, you just do what you have to do. The rules are there, you follow the rules. The rules tell you what you can and cannot do. So it's not like I have to go in here and make up something as I go along. It's already set in stone, we follow the rules, we do exactly what it says to do, and we shouldn't have any problems.
Ms. Nunnally, I had the pleasure of vetting you. This is Charlene Matthews. And I wanted to ask you, of course, this is a circuit position. There's no guarantee that you would remain in the family division forever. You may have to serve in the criminal division. And so I wanted to know what your feelings were on having to impose or consider the death penalty in a case.
Well, the death penalty is the law. And as a judge, my job is to follow the law. If the law requires that, if the jury find that, and during the penalty phase, if that's what happens, that's what happens. So I may have my own opinion as to how things are, should be, but when I'm on the bench, that's not my job. My job is not to come in with my personal opinion and legislate from the bench. It's on the book. It's what it is. And so I would have no problem reading the death warrant. And I know it's a very serious matter. You don't take it lightly. But if the law allows it and the law requires it, then it's my duty to follow the law.
Thank you.
Ms. Nunnally, can you tell us some about your community service involvement?
Yes. First, well, as I said before, I'm a teen court judge. I've done that since 2008, and so I enjoy that. I was also president of the Joseph W. Hatchett Bar Association, and so we did legal clinics in the community, you know, with area churches. We also had a group come together, and we've given money to certain organizations, you know, during Thanksgiving, and we've done a food drive where we collected food and brought it to the students at Embry-Riddle, because they have a food pantry there, because I think, as we all know, college students are broke and they're hungry and they're in need. And so I had a connection there at Embry-Riddle, and he told me what was going on, so I brought that initiative back to the group, and so we all came together and gave food to the students, and so I had a chance to talk with them and connect with them. Another thing I do, I'm an author, and so I do Keynote Speaking, and that's another way of getting out to the community. I get on Facebook and I'm always sharing ideas and thoughts, especially when it's connected to my line of work. Just letting the people know what's going on and what they ought to be aware of and what they be careful of. Because one thing, you get tired of seeing people coming in, and a lot of times they can avoid what they're going through if they know better. And one of my mantras is that I'm allergic to ignorance. I do not like, and ignorance is another form of thought that will cause you to lose out on options and opportunities that you don't have if you didn't know they were there. And you could be in a position of danger and don't even know it. So that's another way that I give back to the community. I was appointed also just recently to be part of the pro bono committee through the Volusia County Bar. And so that's another opportunity for me to give back in that capacity, and just being a role model. I was a mentor with young people in my church, and I'm still, and most of them are grown now, and they're married, and they have children, but they still look to me as Miss Regina. And they, because I'm a firm believer that no matter what I say or do, my character is my currency. It's who I am and how I project myself. That's what they see, because they look like me. And so I want to be the best leader, mentor I can be. And what else? Yeah, that's where I am right there. Just being a best role model.
What are some of the things you've written about?
Well, the book I have now is called Boundless Success. Boundless Success with Regina Nunnally. It's actually an anthology. An anthology is when you have a group of writers that have come together and they write on a particular subject matter. And so on this particular book, my face is on the front, so that's awesome. And the reason being is because I've written articles for program success, and I generally just write on whatever. You have to have I'm gonna say revelatory. I'm gonna say this: a revelatory knowledge and revelatory writing. Like if I hear someone speak, they may speak one or two words, and from there I can get a whole speech out of that. And I don't know, that's just a gifting I have, to be able to listen and then write about something that I think will be applicable to people's lives. And so, for example, I wrote because of what I do for a living, I've noticed some certain things that I've noticed with my clients. So I wrote an article about that, the life lessons of a criminal defense attorney. I wrote on that. In my book that I wrote about a life lesson that my father taught me when I was younger. I used to take Taekwondo, and I wanted to quit. And my father taught me a valuable lesson of finishing what you start. So that mantra has kept me going through my process of becoming a lawyer. That was hard, getting in law school, then getting to law school, and then the law school having issues, and then still plowing through, and then still being able to graduate pretty much top 15% of my class, being able to be part of moot court, being a president of moot court. These things that I've learned along the way go back to what my father taught me. So that's what that book really talks about, the different points that I've learned. And I've talked about singleness. I've talked about my mother. She's one of my role models as well. I wrote an article in a book called Watch a Woman on the Wall, and that was my homage to my mother about how even though she worked outside of the home, she never neglected her home. She didn't neglect her family. And I just looked at her as a watchwoman, and that's biblical. It's a biblical premise, and many of my inspirations do come from a biblical point of view, and I make it applicable to everyday life.
Do we have any further questions? Any questions in Zoom land?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is the number in your application a good number to reach you?
Yes,
Great.
it is.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you. You all be safe.